Hello, it is I, Broderick Wallace, and here we have my very first occult book. I've spoken about this before, but I'm going to focus in on this book for this video, and one chapter in particular. This is a classic. I think it was 1972, 72 that it was first published. This edition is from 1988, paperback. And it actually belonged to, at the time, my mother's friend who lent it to my mother. So it ended up in my mother's bookshelf. And when I had my very first OBE, I gave a description, and my mother's friend just happened to be... It's funny how she did actually look a little bit like this lady, actually. She just happened to be around, and she said, "Oh, this book that I lent your mum, there's a chapter all about astral projection." And so I took the book upstairs and read that chapter only. I just went straight to that chapter. So let's find it. It's full of doodles and things I've underlined. Anything in black is recently. I did that yesterday, but anything in colour is... I actually made a note, so we'll get to that. Lots of lovely pictures. Nothing original. They're all just... I mean, there are a few original diagrams where needed, but anything arty is just lifted out of old woodcuts and the like, that kind of thing, you know. I've gone past the point. Can we not sort this out? Right. Astral projection. Yeah. You can see there's a little cross next to it there, which is chapter 8, page 154. So I remember in my bedroom upstairs reading that chapter and having just a complete and utter moment, an unforgettable. It's like I mean, it's so rare in life, isn't it, that you discover something completely new about reality, or you come across this information, or you have something confirmed. Your mind is blown by new possibilities, this voyage of discovery, and especially when it's something I'm having the experience before I even know what the experience is called, and all the trappings of the experience. There was so much that related to this book. So obviously I went on over the years, because I had trouble accepting some of this book, and that's only because I'm sensible, I like to think. There are a few weird bits here and there that go too far, and its language and that. There is a slight sniff of the New Age, and so you have to be discerning, but there is still so much in this book that is valid, and it's really concise, and it's like the essentials squeezed. They're squeezed down so tight and so far that it makes it seem more ridiculous than it really is, to be honest. So anyway, yeah, it's a classic. David Conway, Magic and Occult Primer, forward by Colin Wilson. And it does amazing, even though this cover is so... I mean, obviously this is designed to capture the, it's appealing to the New Age, slightly gullible. It's definitely aimed at women, and I find it amazing, as tacky as this cover is. We've got hints of astrology, Wicca, put a candle on in the evening, sit down, read this book, let's get all spiritual, and that's actually one of the things that makes it so cool. I'm not kidding you. There is a certain escapism, a certain quality to its magic, if you like. where it's enjoyable. I would say it's the equivalent of enjoying, not all of it, just certain aspects of it, and a certain sheen of this book. It's the equivalent of enjoying coast to coast interviews, knowing that they're bullshit, but it's just, you just want to go there for a while. So like, when you sit there, you're listening to, I don't know, whether it's ancient aliens, or someone says that they shot a Bigfoot and buried it or whatever, or someone's story about how they got taken up in a UFO and taken to a different planet and brought back, and you know it's bullshit, but you can't work out, does the person relating the story actually believe this? Is this why it has this quality of realness about it, where you can what's the term, you kind of disregard your skepticism, and you just enjoy the ride, rather like enjoying a movie or a good fictional book. And I find it's very, very strange that all these years later, I come back to this book, and there's a blonde lady that you can only see from the eyes upwards. That's quite extraordinary, I'll be honest. I think before I covered it in the laminating film, I tried to colour in the cover because I was horrified by its garish new ageness, and I'm glad that didn't work and it rubbed off. And then after it rubbed off, I laminated it, and there's some old notes here from operations many years back, and there's a bookmark there made by me. I think that was around the year 2000 I actually made that bookmark. So I would say 1992, when I was 15, that's when this book came into my life. That's when I began reading it, beginning with Astral Projection. And I would go back to it from time to time, but you have to imagine this is a different world. There's no internet. Kids these days, you don't know you're born. Like the content you can find out, and yet it's the same as music, because it's all there, it's all free. There's so much, you don't know where to start, and you don't appreciate any of it. So there's something wonderful about coming from a generation where information was scarce and sparse, and you had to piece things together. You might be wrong, you might be extremely persuaded by a particular author's slant on things, because you enjoyed that book and you got something out of it, you learned something, you found that it tallied with reality on certain points, so you became more open and trusting to that author, and you don't have 100 alternative viewpoints on that particular technique or theory or whatever. So anyway, I'll leave. I won't go into these notes because obviously early experimentation. So yeah, 1992 when I was 15, I'm pretty sure, give or take a year or two, that was the year. So around about the year 2000, there was another burst with this book where I was doing all the underlining, as you can see, and it was being exposed to and reading all of the work by Graham Hancock, Robert Bevell, that whole vibe. I was reading about Hermes Trismegistus, especially in the book Secret Chamber by Robert Bevell. He mentioned Giordano Bruno. So I was coming back to this book, and again, it was a little bit too much, but over the years, I was gradually coming around to, the idea more and more, and obviously, in terms of experiences and being an intuitive, artistic type of arsehole that I am as well, it was always there on the back of my mind, and it was around about that time as well, the year 2000. Obviously this is like 5 years before YouTube, so you go down to your local Waterstones and you would buy one of Crowley's books, Eliphas Levi, you would only understand, like probably less than 10% of what you were reading. Although book 4 was a wonderful serendipity to find that book in conjunction with the internet appearing about five or 6 years later, and then discovering the Hermetic Hour podcast, where the name Franz Bardon was first broadcast to my ears. Doing a little bit of searching, finding Martin Falk's channel, practicing meditation. But this only all really comes together in 2014. So you have these bursts, these key years: 1992, the year 2000, 2014, where I take up meditation in alignment with these practices seriously. And, you've got the internet in full swing, all that information available. But you've had this grounding in reading. I can't tell you how important it is to read. And I've noticed already, since spending more time on Facebook, that I have to retrain my reading capacity every time I come back to a book. And this is beginning to worry me, and I'm going to take steps to remedy this, to be honest. So it happens to all of us, but you wouldn't know what you've lost if you didn't have a grounding in, reading at least one book per month for many years in a row. This is how you end up with something to say. YouTube and all that, it's too quick, it's too cheap. Yeah, it supplements, it's fine, but there's a difference. I know this sounds arrogant, I couldn't care less, but it's true. There's a difference between someone who reads and someone who just watches, television plus. YouTube is like, it's far superior to television, but it's an echo chamber, and a lot of the information is, you have to be discerning, and a grounding in books is where your discernment comes from. Obviously reality as well, practice if you like, but a grounding in books gives you discernment, and along with the capacity to imbibe information in a way whereby your brain is constantly exercised by the process, refreshed, renewed, strengthened, not merely stressed and tired out by being exposed to too many ideas, too many images, and all of the distractions that are tagged onto this resource for various reasons to do with advertising, mind control, and the way the world is going, which is somewhere really, really bad. Where was I? Yeah, right. So yeah, we got all these. Wonderful book. You can tell I'm lost now. I've completely lost the plot. Why did I even make this video? I'm just kidding. I know. I do know, and the reason is to go to page 70 and read the chapter which, because of my, I would say, a slight pride in my imaginative capacities as, an artistic person, I overlooked to the point where I even forgot this chapter actually existed in this book until I picked it up again yesterday. Oh, there was something I wanted to finish off about key years, actually, just for the purpose of the vlog. So 1992, 2000, 2014, 2019, and 2020. 2018 actually is when I did the all of the 7 planets with the Trithemius system. 2019 was a kind of collapse. It would take too long to describe, and 2020 is a rebirth. Anyway, I just want to add that in there. Right, so if you're still with me, we are going to read this chapter. And what I think I'll do actually is I'll make this in 2 parts. So I'll turn this off now and see you for part 2 after I've had a drink. See you there.